I've been thinking, I want you to be happier. I want you to.
Hi, creative minds. Welcome to the channel, and thank you all for sticking with me on the sewing version. I just want to show you guys how I sewed my corset top. Actually made a play suit, but on this video, I'm just going to show you guys how I joined the top part, which is the corset and the sleeves, and that is what this video is all about. So please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Okay, so let's dive into it. After cutting my pattern on the fabric, I'm going to show you guys what I have on my cutting table, and I'm just going to show you guys bit by bit everything. Okay, so this is my patterns. I have the center front and the side front, and I have the center back and the side back, and then I have the cups. Okay, center cup and the side cup. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about each of the pattern. Okay, so I'm going to start with the center front pattern. I'll show you guys the allowance I added and what I did to the length. So this is the center front pattern. Okay, and I went ahead to add half-inch allowance round. Okay, so this is how half-inch look on your tape. This is what it looks like. So I added half-inch round from the top here to the side, to this side, and to the base of the pattern. I added half-inch allowance, and also I added 1 inch to the length. Okay, so I added 1 inch to the length, and I did this for all the patterns. Okay, for the center front, the side front, the center back, the side back. Okay, I added 1 inch to the length, and then I went ahead to add half-inch to all side. Okay, for the joining. Now this part here, the center front, I did not add any allowance because that part needs to be on a close edge. Okay, this part here needs to be on a close edge, so no allowance added to that part. Now let's talk about the side back. Like I said, I added half an inch round this pattern. Okay, like this, like this, like you can see my chalk clearly on the fabric. Okay, so you can see that half an inch has been added, and this is for the joining. And I also added 1 inch allowance to the length. So that is what I did for my front pattern. Okay, so let's move to the back pattern. For the back pattern, I went ahead to add half an inch to the back pattern, and this is the center back. I added half an inch, and that is for the joining. Okay, so you can see the blue chalk around the pattern, and that is the allowance for the joining. So 0.5 is half an inch, and this is on the center back and the side back, and this is where we're sewing together. So also I added 1 inch to the length, and this part is optional. Okay, you don't have to add 1 inch to your length. If you feel like your length is okay, just go ahead and start sewing. Okay, ignore the 1 inch. I just did that because the length I had wasn't enough. Now let's talk about the cup pattern. For my cup pattern, all I did was just add half an inch round the pattern, and that is just it. Okay, so go ahead and add half an inch round because we're going to use this to join the cups together and then attach it to the center front, and also make points, make annotations, make markings so you know where to join when you're joining. And that is it. So let's go ahead and cut.
But I keep on breathing. I know what I am. I know what I am. I know what I want. I know what I want. I'm never gonna change. I'm never gonna trade off. Lately, I've been thinking. I want you to be happier. I want you to be happier.
So the next thing I'll be doing now is sewing. Okay, so I'm going to start off by sewing my cup together, and starting with the cup, I'm going to be creating a custom made cup using wadding. Okay, and in case you're wondering what is wadding, it is like a thick interfacing that you use to pad your bustier, or just use in padding generally for any part of the body you want to pad. You can use your wadding for that. So I cut my pattern directly on the wadding without adding too much allowance because I'm going to be creating a cup that fits my bust, my actual bust size, so I did not need to add so much allowance. But then I added 1/4 inch allowance to this part here where I'll be joining the two cups together. And now I'm just going to go ahead and sew this, so you see how I'll be sewing my wording together. So I made notches on the bust point so I can place the both points together, the bust point together, and sew. Okay, and that is what I'm showing you guys here. I'll just place each cups together. I'll place one on top of the other one, and then I'll sew by 1/4 inch. So yeah, when you're sewing your cup together, your side cup and your center cup, just make sure you sew by 1/4 inch. Okay, so you don't sew into your measurements. And this is what I have. I'm just going to go ahead and top stitch this thing again. So I'm going in with a second stitch, so it is really firm and it doesn't lose. Okay, so I'll go in with another stitch, so a double stitch. That is what I'm doing here. And once you follow the same step, your cup is going to be looking exactly like mine. And if you're able to achieve this, go ahead and like this video. Okay, don't forget to do that. Thank you. So go ahead and create the second cup for your left bust, and don't forget to indicate the markings so you know which is the center cup and which is the side cup. Okay, and this is what I have for the both cup. Let's go ahead and sew the fabric cup together.
Way too much of my energy. I look up and the whole room spin.
Now, like I told you guys, I added 1/2 inch round my fabric for the cups, and I went ahead to notch the bust point, so when I'm joining I know what to do. Okay, I know where it goes where and which point sits where. Okay, so this is my fabric cups. I have 4 pieces for each side, and this is because 2 is for the main and then 2 for the lining. Okay, so main piece 2 fabric, and for the lining I have 2 fabric, and this is for the center front. And then for the side cup, the same thing, 4 fabrics, 2 for the main piece, 2 for the lining, and I'm just indicating L for lining. Okay, so let's go ahead and join.
You know I gotta keep on breathing. Ooh, yeah. You can't stop me loving myself. Oh, 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 oh. You can't stop me.
I'm just going to pick one from the center front cup and then one from the side front cup, and I'll join this together. Okay, and make sure that the both notches sit together like the bust points. You can see my notch is visible, and I'm just going to sew the side front and the center front cup, making sure that the notch I have on the bust point sits together. Okay, that is the trick. And take your time. If you're a beginner, you don't even need to rush anything. Just take your time and make sure you sew this just the way I'm doing. Okay, so you achieve the same result I have. And this is what I have. Okay, so I'm just going to trim a little bit of excess from what I just sewed. Repeat the same step for the lining cup and then for the other side of the main cup. Okay, and then don't forget to notch. Make these notches so that everything lays really flat when you iron your cups.
Things just take way too much of my energy.
Now I'm just going to go ahead and iron this, and this is what I'm doing. After making the notches, it is very easy for me to place this on my ham, my tailor's ham, and iron. Okay, so in case you don't have one for yourself, that's the tailor's ham, girl, I have a video available on my channel. Just go click and create a tailor's ham for yourself, because you need this if you want to consistently create corset bustier for yourself. Just go ahead and create one for yourself. Okay, the link is going to be on the description box below, so hurry and create for yourself. So once I was done, this is how it looks. And let's go ahead and place the custom made cup with the fabric cup. Okay, I will show you what I did. Now this is my custom made cup that I used the wording to create. This is how it looks. Now because I indicated the sides, I'm just going to place the sides together to where it matches on the fabric cup. and I'll make sure that the center or the middle point sits together. That's the middle point on the custom made cup and the middle point on my fabric cup. I'll make sure they sit together, and then I'm just going to pin so it does not move. And then because my wording has like a gum at the wrong side, I'm just going to iron this and it's just going to stick to my fabric cup. I hope you guys understood what I just said. Now your wording has gum on the wrong side, and if you do this right, you're going to have the wrong side sitting at the wrong side of the fabric. Go ahead and iron and it's just going to stick together. And once you're done, trim off the excess. Okay, so carefully, gradually trim off the excess, and make sure you don't trim on your wording, just trim on your fabric, and this is what you should have. Okay, like this video if you got to this step. Now we're going to be using the main cup to trim the lining cup so everything looks equal. Okay, so this is the main cup and this is the lining. I'm just going to place them together, and I'll use the custom made cup to trim my lining. Okay, and that's what I'm trying to do here. So make sure you trim your lining so it looks exactly as your fabric main piece cup. Okay, I hope you guys understand what I'm just saying. I hope, especially the beginners, I hope you understand. Okay, so make sure you have 4 pieces and 2 for your lining, 2 for your main piece, and let's just move into joining the front piece together. Okay, get your front piece, and this is what you should have: your center front and your side front. And for your center front, you should have 2 pieces of fabric, 1 for your lining, 1 for your main piece. See, I have 2 here. This is for the lining and this is for the main piece. This is how it looks.
When we see what we become in the cold light of day, we're a flame.
And this is the main piece.
Every argument, every word we can't take.
Now this is the side front, and I have 4 pieces of this, and 2 pieces is going to be for the main piece and the other 2 pieces for the lining. 4 pieces. Do not forget, you need 4 pieces unless you have an actual lining for this, so you go ahead and cut on your lining, but I'm using the same fabric as the lining and the main piece. That is why I have the same fabric here on my sewing machine. So the first thing I'm going to do is sew my center front to my side front. So this is the center front. I'm just going to bring one of the side fronts and I'll place it to the side that it matches, like this. Right side facing right side. We'll place it right side facing right side and sew on the wrong side by 1/2 inch. Now, why are we sewing by 1/2 inch? This is the exact allowance I left while I was cutting my pattern on the fabric. So that is why I am sewing by that exact allowance.
My cares away. I can so overcomplicate. People tell me to medicate, then only for a minute. I wanna change my mind, cause this just don't feel right for me.
So I'm just going to sew this side, and then like I said, I'm just going to sew by 1/2 inch. And whatever I'm doing on the main piece of my fabric, I'll repeat that on the lining. Okay, so you want your lining to be like a duplicate of your main piece, because you're going to be attaching the both of them together or each of them together, I don't know. Well, make sure you have like duplicates of what you have on your main piece on your lining. Okay, now we're going to repeat the same step for the lining. I just said that, so yeah, I'm still trying to remind you, repeat the same step for your lining. So now I'm just going to go ahead and sew the back piece together. And here are my back pieces. This is my side back and this is my center back. You can see the zip allowance on the center back. Now my center back, I have 4 pieces of fabric here. Like I said, 2 for the main piece and 2 for the lining. Make sure you have the same amount I have. Okay, now I am picking 1 from the center back and 1 from the side back, and I'm joining by 1/2 inch. And I am joining by 1/2 inch because that is the allowance I left while I was cutting on the fabric. So yeah, sewing by that exact allowance.
You can call me an idol, but I keep on breathing. I know what I am. I know what I want. I'm never gonna change.
So this is how it looks. I'll do the same thing for the other main piece. I'll sew this by half an inch, and now I'm just going to go ahead and attach my back pieces to my front piece, and I'll show you guys exactly how I achieved this. Okay,
I want you to be happier. I want you to be happier. Some days things.
so now let's go ahead and sew the front and the back piece together. This is my front piece and these are my back piece. I'm just going to place my side back to my side front like this, and I'm going to sew this by 1 inch. Why? Now when we're drafting out the pattern, I left 1 inch as the joining allowance on the pattern. Okay, so that is what I'm going to sew this piece together. I'm sewing this by 1 inch because that is the allowance I left. Okay, and please go ahead and repeat the same thing I am doing. Sew in by the allowance you leave. So once you're done doing that, this is what you should have. And if you have excess on the top and it does not rhyme, it does not align, just go ahead and trim. You have the option to trim. Okay, so that's what I'm about to do. I'm just going to trim off some excess on the sides and also on the top. Okay, just trim off excess and make sure that everything align from your center front to your center back. Just make sure it all aligns. I'm about to make sure that my side back and my side front align. So trim, trim, trim. You always have the option to trim. Okay, please don't ask me, ma, what should I do? I have excess on the top. I just told you now, trim. Okay, trim it and make sure everything aligns. Let's go ahead and sew the cup to the front piece. So I did this side of the camera. I sewed the side. You can see how it is laying really beautiful. I love the outcome. Okay, so I'm just going to show you guys how to do this side. Make sure that your dart line on the cup or your joining line on the cup aligns with the dart line on the center front like this. Pin if you are not sure. Pin and make sure that you confirm that it sits properly. Then take this to your sewing machine and sew by half an inch. And yeah, that's the allowance we left for sewing. Okay, so make sure that the joining on your cup and the joining on your center front aligns. Okay, those middle points, make sure they align, and then sew from there by half an inch. And just make sure you take your time. Do not rush any process. Okay, I see no reason why you should rush any process if you're a beginner. Take your time so you understand the process of even creating and joining by yourself. You don't even need to watch my video the next time. You just understand how you can join your cup to your center front, how you can join your back piece to your center front, and just get like a whole full beautiful corset. Okay, once I was done with the process, this is what I have. I have the both cup attached to the center front. And please repeat the same step for your lining. Okay, go ahead and attach your cup to the center front, and let's go ahead and create the sleeves. Now creating the sleeve is actually really very that was too much, really and very okay, so creating the sleeves is actually really simple and easy. Okay, so if you pay attention to everything I'm going to say, you're going to grab it in no time. So okay, so how long this fabric is 40 inches long and the width is 3.5 inches wide. 3.5. So what I'll do now is fold this fabric into 2 equal parts, and then I'll sew by half an inch because I want to pass my elastic through the remaining space. So I'm trying to create a median for my elastic. Okay, so I'm just going to fold into 2 and sew by half an inch. And once I'm done sewing by half an inch, I have 1 inch left on the medium, and that is going to occupy my elastic. Okay, so I'm just creating the channel for my elastic, and now that I'm done, I'm just going to flip this to the right side and then I'll iron. So what I'll be using is my scissors to flip this to the right side. So you can use any object you have very close to you. Just be creative and be resourceful. Just go ahead and flip your fabric to the right side. And now once that is done, I'm just going to go ahead and iron this out so I get a flat band. Okay, I'm just going to call this a band, the sleeve band. So I'll just iron and get a flat band. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to place my tape from one edge and go in by 6 inches point. I'll indicate that with my blue chalk. Okay, and then I'll go to the other end here and I will mark 6 inches or 5 inches point. And why I am marking this point is because I'm going to be using my seam ripper to open up this band to those points I've indicated. Okay, so I'm going to start from this point here, the 6 inches. You can see my blue chalk. I'm just going to rip this open till I get to the other end where I marked the 5 inches or 6 inches point. So that is up to you. So see what I mean? From this point here where I indicated 6 inches, you can see my blue chalk there. I ripped this open till I got to this other side where I indicated 5 inches. Okay, and I'm just going to go ahead and measure how long my band is, because this is going to give me the idea of what I need to cut for the gathers that I'm going to be making next. So let's go ahead and create the gathers. Okay, now this is the fabric I'll be using to create my gathers, and the length of this fabric is 8.5 inches. Okay, you can see here 8.5 inches, that is the length. And for the width of this fabric is 60 inches. Now remember that the band I measured is 30 inches long. I decided to double that number into 2. I doubled it by 2, and now I have a fabric here that is 60 inches wide, and this fabric is going to be gathered to 30 inches. Okay, so 60 inches here. Now the next thing I'm going to do is hem both sides of this fabric. So double fold by 1/2 inch and then hem. Okay, and that is what I'm doing right here. I'm hemming the sides of my fabric before I go ahead and start creating the gathers. Okay, so now let's sew the gathers. So right here I'm making a loose stitch, and this loose stitch is going to enable or help me gather this fabric to 30 inches. Okay, if you're using an industrial machine, you just want to set your sewing machine by 5. Okay, just take that round thing to 5, and that is going to help you sew a loose stitch. And now you can go ahead and gather your fabric, which I am doing right now. I'm just gathering this, and I'm just going to gather till I make sure that this fabric is 30 inches long or less. Okay, no, not 30 inches, it has to be smaller because I took away 6 inches on each side. Okay, so this particular fabric I have here that I have gathered, I'm just going to make sure it fits into this point I have here in between the fabric or in between my band. Like I said, I'm going to call the band the sleeve band. So I'm just going to make sure that the fabric I have gathered is going to fit in between the band, the opening I have on the band. So I'm placing the gather fabric in between the band, and I'm just going to sew. And you can see that I have that 6 inches points before I place the fabric in between, and I'm sewing, taking my time to make sure that my gathers sit properly in between the band. And I'm just sewing by a little bit of 1/4 inch because I need to pass elastic through this band. Okay, and it has to fit, my elastic has to fit through this band, and here is my elastic. So this elastic I'm using, and it's a 1 inch wide elastic, and this elastic is 11.5 inches long. So what I'm just going to do now is I'm going to pass my elastic through the channel on the band. So I'm using my hand needle to secure it first, and then I'm just going to pass this in between the band like this, and this is going to help the band shrink into what I want it to be. Okay, the sleeves I'm about to achieve is going to be an elastic sleeves just like this, which can stretch into any length I want it to stretch into. So this is okay. I'm going to go ahead and attach the sleeves to the corset. Now to do this, I have to bring in my front piece, and here's my front piece. I have done this side of the front piece, and I'm just going to show you guys how I do this side. Okay, what I'll do now is on the cup, from the side where I have the dots on the cup, I'm going to go out towards the side of my front piece, and I'll mark 2 inches here with my blue chalk. So from the that on the cup, I'm going out to the side by 2 inches, and I'm going to place my elastic sleeves in between this point here. I'm just going to pin it like this, right side facing right side. And then I'll take the other end of the sleeves, this other end here. I'll take the other end, and then I'll move to the back piece where I have the dot line joining the center back and the side back. This line here, I'm going to place the other end of the sleeves in between that line, okay, that line, or that seam. I'm just going to place it here, right side facing right side, and then I'll pin this, and then I'll take this to my sewing machine to join. But before I do that, I have to place my lining on this and sew. Okay, I'm sewing everything together. So that is the next thing I'm going to be doing. I'll sew the lining to the main piece. So you guys, let me show you how my lining looks like. Now this is what the lining looks like I said, your lining should always be the replica of whatever it is trying to cover. So this is the lining, and it is the replica or the duplicate of my front piece, and this is how it looks. The cups attached, the back attached to it, and it looks exactly like my front piece but without the sleeves. So what I'll do now is place my lining piece on my front piece, making sure that the center front align. Okay, I have the iron in there and I have that line. I'm just going to make sure it aligns like this, and then I'll sew. And then I'm sewing this by 1/4 inch. In case you're wondering, I'm just going to sew in by 1/4 inch, and I'll make sure that all points align. Okay, all points sit where they're supposed to sit, both on the lining and the main piece. Okay, and if you're a beginner, like I said, there is no need for you to rush any process. Just take your time and try and achieve a very beautiful work. Okay, so once I was done, this is how it looks. The next thing I need to do is top stitch. Okay, and when top stitching, I'm going to be top stitching everything I have sewn on the wrong side. I'm just going to sew it towards the lining piece. Okay, well, making sure that my sleeves sit towards the front piece and not the lining. So right now I am trying to top stitch from the wrong side, and I'm making sure that the fabrics that I have from the sewing, like the stitch allowance that I have remaining, I'm just pushing everything towards the lining and I'm sewing it in, and this is how it looks. Okay, everything goes towards the lining, and this is what it looks like. So what I need to do right now is iron this out, and then I'm just going to go ahead and attach this to the down part of my play suit. Like I said in the beginning of this video, or when I was even drafting out the pattern, I made a play suit, and this corset that I just showed you guys how I achieved is for the play suit. Now I did not show you guys how I made the down part of the play suit because there was an error on the down part, that's the short part, and that is why I didn't show you guys how I did that. I'm just going to rectify the error, and then I'll show you guys the process of making the play suit with the corset up. Okay, anyways, for the sewing of the corset, this is how I achieve my corset upper part and the sleeves, and I hope you guys enjoy the whole process. Let me know what you think on the comment section. And I know I did not remind you to like this video, but right now I am doing this. I am telling you to go ahead and like this video, and don't forget to subscribe if you're new. Thank you for joining me on the sewing passion again. And you guys, I love you so much. Love and light to you wherever you are, and do have a blessed day, morning, night, whatever time it is where you are. Okay, so bye for now.